Good afternoon. It is Friday, May 24th, 2024. Passover was the Jewish festival that memorialized the last plague wrought upon the Egyptian Pharaoh when the Jewish people placed the blood of the sacrificial lamb upon their doorposts to be seen by the death angel, who would then pass over their homes and spare them. In Jesus' day, they celebrated with the Passover feast, also called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It was a ritual meal with bitter herbs and unleavened bread to help them remember the time of the Exodus from Egypt. And the time of the Last Supper takes place at the Passover meal. In Mark chapter 14, verses 12 to 16, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition. It says, on the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to go to prepare the Passover meal for you?" So Jesus sent two of them into Jerusalem with these instructions. As you go into the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him. At the house he enters, say to the owner, "The teacher asks, where is the guest room, where I may eat the Passover meal with my disciples?" He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare a meal. So the two disciples went into the city and found everything just as Jesus had said, and they prepared the Passover meal there. They all knew they would celebrate the Passover meal, Jesus and the disciples. They just didn't know where. He told them he didn't have any place to lay his head. The birds, the trees have nests, and the foxes have dens, but I don't have any place to lay my head. So where are we going to do the Passover meal? And it was also assumed that the disciples would be preparing the meal for Jesus. So then he gives them some kind of unusual instructions. He said, go in the city. We're not going to go out among the wilderness. We're not going to find a tent somewhere. Go in the city where there are lots of people running around. You'll meet a man with a water pitcher. Now, that's not unusual. Water had to be carried to every house from a communal well. And often the people doing it were the lowest ranked slaves, the water haulers and the wood choppers. And often that kind of slave would be one of the lowest ranking slaves in the house or one of the women. It's somewhat unusual to find a man carrying water, but it was not unknown. And the kind of pitchers they carried were, if you can imagine, walking along with a 5-gallon bucket of water. That's a lot of work. You're going to meet a man with a water pitcher, and you need to follow him. Don't ask questions, don't engage, don't talk to him, just follow him. And when he goes to a house, you go up to the house and you ask to speak to the owner, because it's certainly not the owner of the house carrying the water. You find the owner, and you ask the owner, you tell him that the teacher needs a place where he can prepare the Passover meal. Where's the guest room? And that owner of the house is going to take you upstairs. Now, into a large room. Most of the rooms upstairs were smaller rooms, kind of stuck under the corner of the attic, small bedrooms, that kind of thing. But this house had a great room upstairs. Take them to the great room, a large room, and it's already set up for the meal. That means the tables are where they're supposed to be. There's a place for everybody. You just need to prepare the meal. That means you're going to need to prepare, the lamb shank and the bitter herbs and the unleavened bread. You're going to have to put the stuff together for the meal. But the room's already set up for you. That was not what the disciples were expecting. That Jesus had already prepared the way. Now, something significant was going to happen at this meal. They were also going to have the Last Supper at that meal, and Jesus had already prepared the way. You know, there's a certain calmness to life when you recognize that whatever you do, wherever you go, Jesus has already prepared the way. Doesn't matter whether you go overseas on a missionary assignment or whether you're going to go talk to your next door neighbor. Jesus has already prepared the way. And you can trust that he's got everything under control. And that's where the disciples were, still learning that trust. This week, may you trust God to have everything prepared for you. God bless you.